back, everybody. So today we're going to talk about two things. First, we're going to talk about the observer design pattern, and then we're going to talk about the singleton pattern. They're both pretty easy. Singleton's really easy. Observer might take a little bit of time to wrap your head around it, but this is a really cool pattern. So the problem is that suppose you have a class, and so you want to run some code. Let's say you want to run a particular function when something happens, a particular action or some event happens. The problem is that you don't actually know when that event occurs. So you might want to run some code. Let's say it's like a HTTP server written in Java, and you want to run some code when you receive a request from a user, but you don't actually know when you'll receive that request from a user. So it's like how do you manage this sort of pattern? So that's really the problem. You want to run some code upon some event or some action happening, but you don't know when that's going to happen. So the way we deal with that is you introduce what's called a subscriber class. And you introduce what's called a publisher class. And so the subscriber is essentially, it's an interface, and it has a single method, which obviously doesn't have an implementation. And it's, you can call it update, you can call it, you can name it whatever really, but we'll just call it update. And then you have concrete implementations of that interface. So you'll have a concrete subscriber 1, concrete subscriber 2, and each of those will provide a concrete implementation of the update method. So that part's like, it's straightforward. The heart of this pattern is the publisher class. So what the publisher class does is it maintains a list of subscribers, which are basically subscriber objects. So it could be this subscriber, that one. Basically, the type is iSubscriber. So it can be any instance. It can be any child class of iSubscriber. So it maintains a list of iSubscribers, the publisher class, and then it has 3 methods. And you can add other stuff, but these are the 3 core ones. And what you can do is you can subscribe to that class, the publisher class. So you can add a subscriber. You can unsubscribe from that class, and then you have a notify subscribers, which will basically, for all the subscribers that it's maintaining, that list of subscribers, it will run the update method. Now it's not exactly clear how exactly this works when you just see the UML diagram, so it'll be more clear with the code. And then eventually you'll have some client, some main program that will actually put all of this together. So any questions so far about this? Everybody's good? So let's take a look at the code. And well, before we look at the code, here's a more concrete example. So basically it's the same diagram as the last one. But what we've done is we have this example of a YouTube notification system. So you might have different types of subscribers for a YouTube notification. So you might have you might want to receive notifications on your phone. You might want to receive notifications to like your text messages. You might want to receive notifications in your email and that sort of thing, right? So you can have different types of subscribers. So you would do is you have a top level subscriber interface, and then you have a YouTube notification subscriber, and then you have a Gmail notification subscriber, and each of those will provide their own implementation inside of the update method, and then you can use that using the publisher class and the client class. So let's take a look at what this looks like in code. Let's jump in here. So the first thing we had was iSubscriber, so that's going to be an interface, and then we had the YouTube subscriber. Let's just call it, let's just name it that, just so it's easier to type out. And then we had the Gmail notifications. So these are essentially subscribers because they're gonna want to send out notifications up when a new video is uploaded or a new comment was left on a video. So upon that particular event, you want to run some code, which is going to be, which we'll see in these classes. So we have, so now we need the publisher class. And then what we're going to do is we'll just do, or let's just call it client to be consistent with the UML. This is just going to be a main program that's going to run and put everything together. So let's focus on the iSubscriber interface. So again, this is really easy. First of all, it's an interface and it has a single method called update. So that would be public void update. And then you can imagine you can add different types. So what you'll see in a second is, you can call this update method, but you might want to pass some parameters. So you can have, using polymorphism, you can pass different arguments. So you might want to pass like a string argument, and then you might have one for an int argument and so on. So you can sort of add multiple of these, and that's fine because of polymorphism. But we'll just have one single update method that doesn't take any arguments. And then what we'll do inside of YouTube notification, we'll basically implement the iSubscriber class. So again, if we take a look at our UML diagram, what we have is the subscriber, and then we have the YouTube and the Gmail notification subscribers that implement that interface, and then they provide an implementation for the update method. So we have public void update, and this can be something simple. We'll just do like new video uploaded. Then inside of Gmail, and I'll actually copy this. It's the same thing. We're going to implement the iSubscriber interface. And we'll just say, you know, this is like an email, so you might want to like format it like an email. You might have like a title, new video. You might have like a subject, whatever. You guys get the idea, I think. You know, whatever. And then you have the body, new video from some channel. So I think you guys get the idea. So we can provide whatever, you know, custom logic and implementation inside of these concrete subscribers. And then what we're going to do in the publisher class, anyone remember what the class member was for the publisher class? So the state variable. Yeah, it's going to be a list of subscribers. And to keep it simple, we'll just use an array list. So let me import that. And basically we'll have array list. And that's going to have, anyone know what the type of that's going to be? Yeah. iSubscriber. Now, why wouldn't you want this to be, let's say, YouTube notification?
Because then we won't be able to have multiple types of subscribers in our list.
Yeah, exactly. So again, the point of the iSubscriber interface is to have like a generic type for different types of subscribers, and you want to be able to have, you know, any possible subscriber. So yeah, that's just another call out, and then we'll just call these subscribers, and we'll just do new array list iSubscriber. Okay, and then we had 3 methods. So anyone remember those? Yeah, so one of them was update. Specifically was update was for iSubscriber. This one was different. Sorry.
Notify?
Yeah, notify. Yeah, notify. So notify is actually a method that's part of every Java object, so we can't actually use that. So we'll just call it notify subscribers. So that was one of them. Anyone remember the other 2?
Subscribe and unsubscribe.
Yeah, subscribe and unsubscribe. And what argument would this take? Yeah. Well, specifically iSubscriber. We'll just call it S, and then let me just copy that for unsubscribe. Speaking of, you guys should subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Sorry?
Where are the math videos?
I kind of stopped making those.
Come on, man.
Oh wait, that's you.
What's made it?
I'll make some math videos if you guys want. So
What's your channel name again?
it's in the Teams channel. You can take a look at the link. Okay, so before we detrack, so notify. Let's take a look at notify in a second. But subscribe is really easy. We're gonna add the the given subscriber to our list of subscribers, and don't worry about duplicates for now. So we'll do subscribers.add s, and then we'll do subscribers dot subs. I think it's remove. Don't remember the API for this. Let's just do remove, and we'll fix that if that's not the right one. So we have add, remove. So these are really easy. And then notify subscriber is anyone know what's going to happen in notify subscriber? What does that mean to update them?
Call the update from.
So you would call the update method for each subscriber, right? So yeah, like you would have like a loop, and then you would call every single subscriber. So you would have for iSubscriber s in subscribers, and then we'll do s.update. Any questions about this? This is really the heart of this pattern. It's really simple, but it's really the core of this pattern.
Would you actually write this as iSubscriber instead of just subscriber? Why the I?
That's just for like making it obvious that it's an interface. It's just notation. Yeah, like in this diagram, if I just put subscriber, it might not be obvious that it's an interface.
But
Okay.
inside the code, would you not write subscriber?
Again, it's just naming. Like I know Microsoft uses this convention. Like if you ever use like C#, which is a Microsoft language, everything is prepended with I. That's an interface. It's just convention. Yeah, doesn't really matter too much. So any questions about this? It's really easy. You iterate over every subscriber, and each because each of those are objects, they have an update method, and you're going to call all of those. Now, in some instances, you might want to call only a specific subscriber. So you could also have like a public void notify subscriber, and then you pass like a particular subscriber, and then you look for it in the list, and then call the update for that. But we'll just stick with notify subscribers for now. Okay, and then in client, now the way we can use this is, so first of all, you would have, you need to start by creating some subscribers or an instance of iSubscriber. So let's do that. Let's do iSubscriber s equals new. Let's make a YouTube one first. And then we'll make one for the Gmail one. Let's call this YouTube client, and then let's call this Gmail client. And then let's make an instance of the publisher class. So publisher equals new publisher. Anyone know what we have to do now? Yeah, we have to subscribe both of these subscribers. So we would do publisher.subscribe the YouTube client, and then the same thing for the Gmail client. Okay, and then you might imagine that you might have some event that happens, and then for now we're just going to hard code it, but you might imagine that you might have a particular user action or some event, and then you want to call the notify subscribers method. So for now we'll just call it directly, but usually the way you would use this is you would have something like maybe when you receive like a user request, and then you want to run this method, or when maybe you're reading something from a database, but it's something that happens in the background. So when the result is ready, then you have a method that handles that, and then it calls publisher.notify subscribers inside sort of that callback method. That's usually what it's referred to as. So any questions about this?
There would be something like a flag being set when the database is updated or whenever the query is done?
Yeah. So typically that's achieved using what's known as callback methods. It's not super common in Java. If you use JavaScript, that's a very event-driven language. So you have like callbacks. You also have what's known as promises, which are basically like, a callback is like basically it runs after something happens. So you can imagine that if you're on a web browser and you click something, a callback will fire only when that click event happens. So this pattern is actually really useful on like web applications, for example, because there's lots of events happening, right? When the user's interacting with the web page. So other questions about this? And my linter isn't running again, so I don't. Anyone know what the ArrayList API is for removing? Is it remove at?
No.
Let's just try running it.
Well, wait, no, that's not.
Okay, let's see. Give me a sec. Whoa. Elements, did I type it wrong?
You mentioned that's this one.
Yeah. See, this happened last time too. My linter doesn't run for some reason. Okay, since we're a bit short on time, I won't bother running this. Basically, what would happen is once we call publisher.notify subscribers, you'll basically see two print messages. One of them will say new video uploaded, because that's what we're printing here in the update, and the other one will say new video from Infinite Mathematics or something like that. So that's essentially what it would be. So let's move on, and let me show you a more practical example actually. So this is an example of when I actually use this pattern in like sort of practice, I guess. So this was one of my course projects. Let me show it to you really quickly. So welcome to MacWa. So this is basically an animal sighting application. You can just report a sighting and where you saw it on campus. So the problem was that there's this form here, and what you can do is if you click on select on map, you want to select where you saw the animal. So once you select it and then you select somewhere on campus, let's say like here, what you want is those coordinates to be updated over here. So you select on map. Let's pick somewhere far so there's actually a difference. So I pick all the way down there. You can see the coordinates have updated. So the problem was that the code that sort of deals with this map and rendering this map and all of that is separate than the code, and it's referred to as component specifically in React, which is a JavaScript framework. But specifically, the component or the class that deals with the map rendering is separate than the class that deals with this form and all the buttons and everything on this form. So the problem is that how do you get this class basically that deals with the map and everything related to it to communicate with this form class, which is separate, and pass it basically these coordinates. So this is where I use the observer pattern essentially. So let me show you what it basically looks like. So there's this class called store, which is essentially a publisher class. What you have is, you have a subscribe method, and then you have a notify method. Instead of adding a subscriber object, it's just passing a function, but you can easily change that to like passing an object that has an update function. And then basically what happens is every time you click on the map, there's an event that fires, and then you can just call like store.notify. And then when you run the notify method, what happens is that it automatically updates the coordinates here, and that's passed on. So that's just a little practical example of using this pattern. So any questions? And it's not exactly a one-to-one mapping, but it's basically the same principle. Any questions? So let's move on to the